Once you have your still images in your project, it's time to start bringing them into your timeline. And you can simply grab and drag and drop them in, but there is one potential gotcha, and that is when you drop a still image into your sequence, it won't ask you if you want to adjust the sequence to match that still image, which is a good thing. But if by accident you made the sequence the wrong aspect ratio or the wrong frame size or even the wrong frame rate for all your video footage, then there could be a problem. I'm going to quickly click on my timeline and go up to the sequence drop-down menu and look at the sequence settings for this project. And I see right here that I accidentally made this 1920 by 1080, and I know all of my footage is 1280 by 720. I'm going to go ahead and close this knowing that my sequence settings are wrong, but I'm going to show you a trick that you should follow just to make sure everything is right. I've already imported one video clip, and what I like to do is before I drop any still images into my timeline is grab a representative video clip and drag that in first. And when I say representative, an example of a video clip that is like most of the footage that I will be using. So I'll drop that in. Now I will get the dialog box that says keep existing settings or change it, and I do want to change it to make sure it matches my video. I can even delete it at this point, and if we go back up to the sequence settings, you can see that it's now 1280 by 720. I'll hit OK, and we're ready to work with our still pictures. We have still pictures that are both landscape mode or horizontal, as well as portrait mode, such as these magazines, which are vertical. Now, of course, your sequence is horizontal, so to deal with this, you may need to be a little more creative. I'll drop the barbecue pizza shot in first, and when I let go, you'll notice that it's pretty short, but if I zoom in so you can see it better, and now double-click to load it into my source monitor, I can see that its duration was 5 seconds. Well, if I needed it to be longer or shorter, I can simply grab the edge and stretch it out either way to make it longer or shorter. As a matter of fact, all of the basic editing techniques that we learned can be applied directly to still images. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, I only see part of the image. And that's because most video images you're going to get are much larger than the resolution of your timeline. Even the highest of high-def televisions are only 1920 by 1080 pixels. Well, that's like a 2-megapixel camera. These images, which were taken with a higher megapixel camera, are actually coming in at a 1-to-1 aspect ratio, which is great because if I did want to do a pan or a zoom, I won't lose any resolution. Let me drop down on fit to 10%. Now, if I double-click on the image, I can see that the image is actually way larger than what I'm seeing in my 720 timeline. So a quick fix for this, if I'm not going to be doing any moves on the image, is simply to right-click on it and choose the option of Scale to Frame Size. Now, if I go back to fit, you'll see that it fits perfectly within my frame, and I can use it without worry. Now, you may ask, why did I not do this when I imported the clips by using that checkbox that we learned about in the previous video? I want the flexibility that if I want to quickly scale it, I can do it within the program, but there's definitely times I may bring a clip in, such as maybe one of the magazine covers, where I want to do a tilt or a pan across the magazine cover to show the viewer information. Now, speaking of magazine covers, let's go ahead and bring in one of the magazine covers into the timeline and see how that's going to be a slightly different challenge. I'll go ahead and grab the pancake shot and drop it in right next to the barbecue pizza. When I click on it, you can once again see that we're looking at a very large image, and I need to shrink it down. Using the same technique, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to Scale to Frame Size. This is a different aspect ratio, and what Premiere likes to do is make sure that you don't cut off any part of your picture, so whatever the largest side is, that's going to hit the edge of the frame. So in this case, we had to shrink it down so we don't cut off the top and the bottom. And a lot of times this is fine. Sometimes you may even make it smaller and put it over a background. But I do want to point out what looks to be black on the left and the right side of this image is actually transparent. So if I had put this image on top of, say, Vanessa and myself speaking, you would actually see us behind it and not necessarily see this by itself. Let me show you exactly how that might work. I'm going to just go ahead and drag it up to the third track and grab that piece of video that we worked with earlier and just throw in a small chunk. I'm going to just grab an arbitrary in and out point and grab just the video and put it onto track 1. You'll notice that it isn't black here, so if I cut away to the cover that we were talking about, I would have a problem. So the solution when working with still images, and if you have something on track 1, such as a narrator or your talent, is you're probably going to need to put something in between as a background. And you can import any image you want as a background. You might have a preset background made, or you can simply create one under the New button at the bottom of the project window, and here you go. You can create either a color matte or even black video, which is just solid black and no sound. So I could go ahead and grab that, put it underneath, and I'm good to go. So it's easy to change the duration of an image by simply dragging the edge to make it longer or shorter and using scale to frame size to make it fit perfectly within your frame.